I live in drag 24 hours a day. I never come out of it. I never dress as a guy. I have no men clothes. I'm this way 24 hours, so that if you ever would come over to visit me, this is what you would see, when I'm dressed up. But, usually for my housewife duties, I'm usually, with an apron on and my hair with 1,000 curlers in it and, and everything. My occupation now is I'm a prostitute. They'll pull up. I'll be standing on the corner. They'll pull up, and I'll walk over to the car, and I say, yes, is something the matter, or is something wrong, or can I help you? And they'll tell me, they'll say, are you going out? And I say, yes. And they'll ask me what I'm spending, and I won't quote the price. And they'll tell me, I say, well, if the guy doesn't know what's going on, I'll tell him that he can only get a French, or if he wants a masturbation, and I don't go lesser than 10. And most of my tricks come from, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Very seldom I get a businessman that, spend 50 or want to stay all night. But the ones that don't know, usually most of them, my tricks want a French. And usually I have to give them a, if you don't know, a French, it's a blowjob. I usually have to give them a blowjob. I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. When they're older, I'm 23 years old. As far as I can remember, when I was little, I wasn't interested in any games or anything. I was more closer to my mother than I was to my father. I got along with everybody and everything, but I just started off playing with dolls and, doing girls' games. My mother taught me how to cook, and I was more closely to her than I was with my father. My father didn't say nothing. He just called me a sissy, it was just that he figured that, well, it was just something that, I would go through. I could tell he didn't like it, but he really didn't get really serious with it. And I had a very happy childhood. I got along. I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of girlfriends, not one steady girl, but I had a lot of friends, and everybody seemed to like me. As far as my childhood, I got everything I wanted. My mother and father was always buying me gifts. My brothers and sisters, we was all close, but my brothers and sisters was kind of resenting the idea that I was being a sissy and they didn't care too much for it. And my sister that I'm really close to, I got along with her more than anybody because me and her would always sit down and we would always talk and everything. I heard this guy call me a homosexual. Well, I think I was about 14 years old. And this guy called me a homosexual. And I thought, what was it? And I wanted to explain. And this guy explained to me was a guy that liked his own sex. And I got to thinking, this couldn't be me. I didn't have no idea that I was liking men. I was just doing feminine things. Halloween. Every Halloween, I always dressed as a girl. Every Halloween. I didn't miss a Halloween. Like it was an experience. That each time I started dressing, I got more and more experienced. And then when I went to high school, I didn't start dragging until I was in the 11th grade. I just started dragging on the weekend. And I had met these female impersonators from Akron. And I was so fascinated. I thought, well, they really gets over. And I thought, I'm going to be friends with them. And I was really sissy. And when I was coming down the street, the way I went to school, and they spotted me, what I was right offhand. I introduced myself, and we got, to be real good friends. I didn't let my mom and them know I was going in drag or nothing. It started being just a weekend thing, watching them, and then I started putting on my eyes, and before you know it, I was putting on my own makeup and doing everything myself. I was so fascinated with the men just pulling over you, and there was so much attraction. That shocked me more than anything. These were straight guys. The places that I first went to, it wasn't gay at all. It was straight. Then I started going every day. I was dressing as a woman every day. Then I was missing school. When I was in the 12th grade, I had to June, and I quit because I just, I couldn't take it anymore. I had got so feminine, and I was wearing more makeup to school, and I didn't care what nobody said. I didn't feel guilty or nothing. I never thought I was going to live like this, as a woman. I never thought that. Both my parents didn't know nothing about it until these female impersonators that I met, they danced at this club, and they asked me would I do a go-go number. And I had never stripped before, and never did nothing, like that. So I said, well, I'm going to try it. So when I got ready to go out, they called me, introducing Miss Valerie, and I walked out on the stage. And here's my father And my mother, they had a table right in the front. I was right nervous. You would be. My father gave me the dirtiest look, and I knew, I said, well, I wasn't made up this good. And I just figured, well, all these people has paid to see me, so I might as well just go on and just continue to do the show. So I danced, and I twirled, and everybody loved me. My mother, she didn't say that. My mother always did give me good support in everything I did, even though it was wrong. But my father gave me a dirty look, and my aunt and uncle, they were just so stunned and so shocked, they didn't do nothing. When I got home, I ran upstairs and I hid, and my father came and asked me, he said, this is what you're doing, and this is what you've become. And so he took all my first drag clothes and he burned them. And he said, as long as I had stood on the roof of his house, I had to abide by his rules and respect his wishes. So I had to start all over again. I kept on dragging. I sneaked and did it. In school, I dated a lot of guys. I had a crush on this black guy, the first black guy that's ever been into my life. And I was going out with some of the other guys. I always got over better at the wine bars. I could fool more of the white ones than I could fool the black ones. I run with this queen. She went in drag. Her name was Georgette, and she took me in. And then I got more and more of it. I wasn't going in drag then, 24 hours. I went to this bar called the Moulin Rouge, and I met this white guy, and he said to me, he said, you look just like a woman. He said, you ought to stay in it. He said, if I were you, I would never come out of it. If he's new and so forth, like he comes a couple of times and so forth. No, he doesn't know. He thinks I'm a woman because I'll lie and I'll tell him that I'm on my period and I can't screw, and I'll tell him that I went out with a guy that was too big and he hurt me and so forth, and I'm under a doctor's care. And you have to act and you have to be serious. I've told him, I tell a lot of tricks when I am. He's shocked, his mouth is open and everything, but and I tell him in a nice way, you know, that if you don't want to come back, you don't have to. If I could fool you, you know, easily somebody else can. But usually, you know, they return. I never, you know, don't have no trouble. They're shocked and they can't believe it. And of course, there are a few that, you know, have a complex. Oh, what have they done? And act as if, you know, it was a great sin that they had done, and they feel as if they want to kill themselves, and they figure that they're homosexuals. But there are some gay guys that I do go out with that, you know, just like drags only. And to them, you know, there's no problem. They already know, you know, and as far as you can, you know, tell them, and they'll do anything and spend any amount of money that you want. You have to do this. You have to be concerned. Where, like, a trick that's married and everything, his wife neglected him and he's not concerned, or she's rushed him in sex, or she can't do this for him, or she can't do that for him. You have to go along with the program. You have to really be an actress. It can be dangerous because you can run in contact with the wrong guy. I don't carry anything. All my girlfriends, they either carry a knife or a mace or anything. I don't carry nothing. I don't run in contact with too many guys that, you know, are rough. Usually they get rough with my sisters, and my sisters usually, you know how to, the other drags, you know, they know how to handle themselves. And I would just use my nails, but I don't have no weapon, you know, at all. Yes, we have a lot of trouble with the Vice Squad. Some of them, they don't give us a rough time, you know. It depends on, I guess, different queens that they don't think as troublemakers. Like, I've been arrested. I goes up on High Street, and this guy in this Volkswagen came. Oh, he was good looking. He had an army jacket. So he said, hi, what are you doing? Are you going out? I said, yes, at the moment. I said, but I'm going home. And so he said, well, you know where I can find any women at? And I said, yeah. There was a couple of girls standing out in front of the stairs. I said, it's true. You have, you know, take your pick. He said, I want you. You appeal to me, so let's go. So I said, well, you can just give me a ride home. And he said, are you a drag queen? And I said, yes. So when I got in the car, he pulled in this parking lot real fast, and the Vice was sitting there waiting right on me. I was caught. So they took me up to the safety building, and they booked me for soliciting. So I go through, I took pictures with my wig on and pictures with my wig off. And I took pictures that wasn't even necessarily that they had to have. So I went to court the next day, and I went to court in drag, and I had the judge confused and everything. The judge asked me, did I know what I was charged with? And I said, yes. So he said, how do you plead? So I figured, well, if I plead guilty, and it'd be all over with. So I pleaded guilty, and I figured, well, I wouldn't get no more than just 30 days. So the judge gave me 60 days. He said I would do 30 of it, and then at the end of 30 days, I would talk to a probation officer. They treated me with respect. They didn't let a lot of guys come in and look at me like I was a big circus and so forth. When I did the shower and everything, when I changed and everything, there was some nasty remarks made because you know how cops are. So I figured, well, if I get in the kitchen, I'll glamour myself up. So I got papers and aluminum foil in the kitchen, and I rolled my hair up. I got flour, eyeshadow, and everything. But I had a uniform, which I took it in. And the deputies, you know, they were nice. All the guys were knowing what we were, but they had to watch us like we was some sex maniacs, like we was going to try to have one of those trustees. When the 30 days was up, the probation officer came to see me. And he said if I would agree to change my way of life and not drag and so forth and everything, you know, I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. And I had to give up this and I have to give up that, and I had to give up too much. I didn't want to stay in jail no more than, you know, than I had to. And I was going to consider it, but I knew I couldn't give up drag and everything. I knew I was going to go right back out there and get in drag and everything, because I came in jail in drag, so I might as well not lie to him. And I told him, I said, I cannot change my way of life where I'm living or nothing. I said, I cannot do it. I'll just go on and serve the 60 days. Yes, I have a lover. I've been going with him for 8 months. And this is the first guy, you know, that's ever lived with me. It's just like we're married. I know all his secrets. He knows all mine. As far as me being happy and so forth, I'm not happy to the fullest, you know, because what would really make our relationship much better is when I don't have to work, when I can be just like any ordinary girl and everything, which I don't have to work the streets at all. And he, you know, he works, he'll work. He doesn't work now, but he used to. Don't get the wrong idea that I'm whoring for him, but I'm not. I'm doing this because I have no other source of income that I could make money, you know, real good at. It makes him furious. I'm the one that talked him into it. It makes him furious about the whole idea. We gets into it, but he calms down. But no, he doesn't like it at all. He's very, very jealous and so forth. I've kind of talked him into it because I tell him that when two people really love each other, they can't live on love. The rent's got to be paid. There's got to be food. Life goes on, true. Love just don't pay the bills. And for right now, this is the only source of income, only money, you know, that's made. And it's easy for me to help him out and so forth. It's, you know, to help each other out. It's not no one-sided thing, because when he was working and everything, he always brought me gifts. He's brought me, you know, several things and everything. And he's just waiting to get a real good job so I can quit completely. I'm happy to a certain degree, but I don't think that our relationship will be too long. I don't think. At least I hope it would be, because now that I've learned how to, you know, cook and wash and iron. I mean, being a housewife, you got duties to perform. You got to get the house clean. You got to do a lot of things, you know, to keep him happy and everything. Have his dinner ready on time and everything. I've learned, you know, the feelings that a woman goes through. I've learned a lot of things as far as us being together and everything. I'm a drag queen, true enough, but I couldn't stand. The only thing that I think would tear us apart is for him to have another woman. And I think that you could say, well, I'm a drag queen and I'm not real, and I have to take them into consideration. He's not gay, but I am the only queen that he's going with, he's messing with. And it would be a woman that would break us up, and I think that's what, you know, that's the only thing. I've thought about this so many times. I know that I can't go on, you know, tricking. I can't go on, you know, prostituting. I'm hoping that I do find somebody that really does love me, and I do settle down. Until then,